and I run over and get to her and hug her and hug her and hug her and hug her. I almost don't even know where to start, so I'm just going to start at the beginning and start talking and tell you what happened. We couldn't find Maggie tonight. I had seen her. She'd gone outside in our backyard, and our backyard has a 6-foot fence. It's totally smooth, and as far as we know, there's no way that any of the kids can get out of the backyard. There's nothing that can be propped up that can get her over it. It's basically when they're out there, they go out and they play and they have fun, and it's a totally kids-proof space. And I look out through the security camera, I look out through the door, but I feel pretty safe when they're out there playing, and usually they're going in and out and just having fun. And today was basically probably the most beautiful day of the year that we've had so far. Definitely, I would say the most beautiful day of the autumn. It's really cooled off today, and it was a beautiful day to be outside. I had spent a good portion of the morning cleaning out the garage with the garage door open while the kids were at school and at therapy, and it was a nice day. Or it was a nice day. So I was making dinner, and I was cooking some noodles because I had thrown the rest of the meal together, a chicken dish, in the crock pot earlier, and Paul had just gotten home with Patrick from feeding therapy. Basically, it was the end of a really busy day because it had kind of been hard to coordinate the end of our day. Paul had taken Patrick to feeding therapy, which is right next to the hospital. I had picked up the 2 girls. My mom had picked up Sadie and James, and then we all kind of met back here. And my mom left, and dinner was just about ready, and Paul was hanging out with the kids. I just had this feeling, and I asked Paul to go get Maggie outside, and he came back in and he said she wasn't outside. And he at that point didn't seem worried at that point, because he just figured she could be anywhere in the house. But I'd kind of been keeping an eye on where everyone was, and I was pretty sure that every time I'd looked at Maggie, she was outside, and I didn't remember her walking past me to come inside. So I felt like she should still be outside, and at that point I thought he just wasn't looking well enough, that he'd probably gone on the porch, looked around, and that she was hiding somewhere in the backyard. So he comes inside and he's like, no, I did. I looked around outside. And he comes inside and he goes downstairs, and the kids are like starting to look for her too now, because everyone wants to have dinner. People are getting impatient, and so everyone runs downstairs looking for her, and then they all come back upstairs. They're like, she's not downstairs, she must be up in her room. They all go upstairs and they're looking upstairs for her. She's not upstairs. And I'm really starting to feel anxious. I come out of the kitchen and I walk outside and I walk down and I look all over the yard, and I come back in and I'm like, did you find her? Guys, did you find her? And I keep expecting someone to be like, oh, she was here. She was under a blanket. She was in this corner or something, that she was hiding somewhere. Not that Maggie doesn't usually hide, but sometimes she'll just, be hanging out somewhere with like a bunch of blankets or something. And so I kept waiting for that to happen, and it didn't. And so at that point, I just start tearing around the house, and I go basically through the whole house like twice, and Paul's already gone through it like twice at this point. And that's when we start to get scared. And Paul goes out the front door, and I said, I'm going to call 911. And he said, do it. I ran up to her room one more time. I even lifted up a mattress. I mean, it's not like she's under the perfectly flat mattresses. I was just desperate. And I call 911, and then I run next door to our neighbor's house, and I tell our neighbor, who is 80, who we know, who we're close to, and I ask her, I see our neighbor through her window. She's just sitting down to dinner, and I knock on her door and I tell her Maggie's gone, and ask her if she can please watch the other kids. And she runs back over to the house with me and says, of course. She's barefoot, and she runs to our house, and I get her over there, and I tell her my mom's on her. I call my mom and tell my mom. All I said to my mom was, Maggie's gone, and she says, I'm on my way. And I hang up the phone and tell her that my mom's on her way, and I run out and I get in my car and I start to drive. And I figured that Paul would have driven into town, or towards the highway, because that's the way she's always gone. And I thought, what if this one time she like starts going towards my parents' house, because she's probably going to take a route that she always takes. And so that's either going to be into town or to my parents' house. There's only two ways that we drive. And so I follow the road to my parents' house, and halfway there, my parents are coming back towards us. First, my dad's truck goes by, and then my mom's car goes by. And when my mom's car goes by, I think, okay, both of their cars have gone by. If both of their cars have gone by and Maggie's not there, and they haven't seen Maggie, then she's not on this road, because Maggie generally like runs down the middle of the road. So I stop and I make a U-turn in a driveway, and I turn around, and when I get to like the main huge crossroads, my dad has parked his truck in the middle of the intersection, and he is stopping every single car. He ended up stopping like 200 cars, and he is telling them that about Maggie. He's telling them she's missing, and he's asking them to look for her. And there's like a huge tractor stopped next to him, and everyone's stopping and listening to him and looking for her. And at this point, I've called 911 the second time, because the first time they've said they'll get on it and they'll do something. And so I call back again, and they say to go to my house and to wait for the police officer to get there. So I go back to the house, and I'm hysterically crying at this point. I start crying when I'm talking to the police officer, because I start crying when I'm talking to dispatch, because it just feels like everything's happening so slowly, and like at this point it feels like she's been gone for so long now. And at that point, it had been, before we noticed her missing, it had been 4 minutes since anyone had seen her. But then, by the time the police officer gets to our house, it's probably been about 15 minutes since anyone has seen her. I basically sat on the lawn. I knelt down next to my car on the lawn and just sat there and waited for him. When we got there, I ran up to his car and I showed him a picture of her. I knew exactly what she was wearing. She's wearing a black skeleton shirt, a black shirt with a skeleton on it, with like candy on it. I didn't see the candy part, but that's it. That's what it looked like. It had little pieces of candy on it, with a purple skirt and pink stretch pants under it. And they put that out right away. I showed him a couple pictures of her, and he had me text him a picture of her. And they immediately put that out through Nixle, I think it's called, which basically put it out to everybody. Like the TV stations, I guess, got it. And apparently her teachers, apparently a lot of people, her caseworker, everybody got it at that point. Various therapists and teachers got it. It was like everybody knew about it then, which was wonderful. Then they were calling for dogs and drones and air support, and Paul was going door to door and talking to neighbors. Our neighbors were coming out of their houses. People were coming over and looking at her picture on her phone and going out to look. It was amazing. The community support was amazing. They'd called for the volunteer fire department, and those guys, I didn't know this at the time, but they were all out putting on their vests, and there were tons and tons of people with vests out there looking for her. And we went in the backyard, and the only thing that we could figure out was that there was a hose that went from the top of the porch over the fence, and it kind of dipped down a little bit, and that she might have grabbed onto that and used it like to scale over the fence. That was the only possible thing that we could think. And it was like I could hold it together and I could talk to people as long as I was talking to them and answering questions and helping. And anytime I wasn't answering questions, I was pretty much just sobbing hysterically in place. I would just completely break down, because at this point, I mean, it's like we're getting close to, 45 minutes, an hour has passed. It's getting to be a long time, and I'm just standing there like this. It doesn't make sense, because when she runs away, she generally just runs down the middle of roads and people see her right away, and it's so obvious that something's wrong. She's barefoot. How can we not know where she is at this point, because usually, like the last time she ran away, there were like, a dozen 911 calls immediately, because something's so obviously wrong when she runs away. And they asked me if I was sure she wasn't in the house, and I said, yeah, Paul had gone through it. I'd gone through it. I'd searched everywhere. And they start searching with the dog, and Paul's searching by the highway, and my dad's still stopping cars, and my mom's gone out and she's searching. And the police officer asks me to go through the house one more time, and I go through the house again, and I don't find her. And Paul comes back, and he comes in, and he goes through the house, and all of a sudden he says, she's here. And I run over and get to her and hug her and hug her and hug her and hug her. And everyone is just like I've never been so happy to see anyone in all my life. I mean, she's gone missing before, but it's never been for more than 10 minutes, 15 minutes maximum. This was a long time. This was an hour of terror. This is an hour of, watching the dog run back and forth, and it wasn't picking anything up, and nothing, it just wasn't making sense. So here's what happened. Here's what I got to go outside and tell the police. There was one thing that I didn't think of today. I never thought of the fact that she might have broken into the house, into a room that she doesn't have access to. Maggie isn't allowed to come into my room. It has all my art supplies, my computer stuff, my camera stuff. It has everything that's breakable that isn't Sadie's. Sadie's room has breakable things, and my room has breakable things. And Maggie likes to break things. And not usually on purpose. It's just sort of how it goes a lot of the time. I could tell a lot of the stuff that she broke today, I don't think it was intentional. I think it was just her general Maggie-ness and strength, and not realizing her own strength all of the time. So what she did was she broke in through my window. She opened the window. She broke the screen. She bent the screen. She took it off. She threw the screen into my room. She climbed in through the window. She broke a bunch of stuff off of the windowsill. And then she closed the window behind her. So the window was actually closed, so that when we were out there looking for her, we didn't even think of it. And then she totally trashed my room, just looking for what's in here, what's in this room that she's allowed it here sometimes. I'll invite her in here and we'll watch TV on my computer and hang out in the bed or read books or do something like that. But she's not allowed just access to my room all the time, because she tends to break things. So she just basically came in here and completely destroyed everything, pulled everything apart, broke a bunch of stuff, spilled coffee on the floor. And I think that was all accidental, because the coffee was right sitting inside that window, and I almost dumped it out when I left today, and I didn't. I thought I'll do that when I get home, and I cleaned. And I'll clean because I was cleaning other things, and I just didn't get around to doing that. But the point was, not the point, but the thing was, I came downstairs 3 or 4 times, and every time I came downstairs to look for her, I came to my bedroom door and I turned the knob and it was locked, and I thought, oh, it's locked, there's no way she's in there. It's been locked all day, she can't be in there. And I was hurrying, I was frantic, I was looking for her, and so I didn't come in here and look. And it never occurred to me that she might have broken through the window to get in here into my bedroom. It's not like she broke the glass. It's like she pried it open so she could come through. So we went outside and we told everybody, and everyone was really happy because she was safe. And this wasn't a sad story. This is a happy story, and it has a happy ending. And it's the way every story should end, with the child being found. And then I got a text from her teacher from last year saying that there had carloads of people coming to search for her. And so I called her and told her we found her. She's okay. She was in our house. And I got a call from her social worker who told me she'd been praying for us and that they'd seen it, and that she was so relieved when the second update came through that she'd been found. And I got so many texts from wonderful people. There were so many carloads of people out there. It was so amazing how the community came together, and even how our own neighborhood came together, because really amazing how many people were out there looking for her. And I'm not going to cry anymore tonight. I cried for an hour straight, and I'm done crying right for the moment. But she is home. She is safe. I have a meeting tomorrow with her therapist, and she didn't actually elope. She just used all those super ninja lock breaking skills in a new way to break in instead of out. And that was totally unexpected, because she's never actually broken into anything before. So yeah, I'm really still just reeling right now. Like, I cannot believe that today happened. That's it for today. If you're interested in following along with us and in all things autism, we'd love it if you'd hit subscribe. And I'll see you tomorrow, which I'm hoping is going to be much, much less eventful than today. Bye.